nhớ cho này cái gì trong xe nó nói để thì lòng lòng cho lòng thì now one day we are branded và we are the trustee Shirkin at St. Unified School District. Nuna Bentua Ho, Taiko Ken, Ruja Fresno, Navi, and Lukong Ho, Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs, Moilu, Walia, Tua, Gina, Chichila, meet and greet. Nuna Peiwa, Kunji, Bedu, Congressman T.J. Cox, representing Walia Congressional District. Honor, Ibn Tadena, Congressman T.J. Cox, Tua, Olu, China, Kunji, Beta, Nikansi, and Besak, Nuna, Balo, Kunji, Nuna, Lukong Ho, APAPA Na, Lukong Ho, Walia, Ito Nang, this young dollar. The more chapters. Thông tới một cái đó mua năng của tàu nữa thì lúc Fresno chapter nó là cái những có khi tàu all luôn là bên lúc thì nó sư cái bên nhập của bên nhập dầu đi tục thì sư thì lúc nó thì dùng thì lúc cùng hậu ở bảo Fresno chapter nó mua cái họ public function là hoạt động cho cái này cái gì xin cái này cái gì tua gọi là chỉ là tua thằng cái thằng thì lúc nó thì bên ba hay gì bên mua họ meet and greet thì cái này cái chỉ cho nó cho chứ ta chạy nhau Fresno hôm đó là cái những quân tích sự kiện tuần G tuần tỏ tuần đòn Congressman T.J. Cox thẳng cũng là như vậy từ gọi là lúc nào do học sinh nhiều đó kia ta chỉ cũng vậy từ mong thì lúc nào cũng có những cái sự kiện kia bây giờ tuần G bây giờ thì cái chỉ kia tuần G Congressman Cox trên để lúc chỉ đã chỉ là gọi là cho bê sạch những sự kiện là đó là bê sạch cái đa nào đi được thế nào thì chỉ mong ta chỉ Congressman T.J. Cox one side đó chúng ta để nó represent là show cái congressional district on để giờ giống như hai cái đa cái gì này cái đa cái đó bây giờ cái lúc công hội đó lúc Asian Pacific Islander cái đa cái based on the based on the most volume mà người dân cái đa cũng ha cái cái gì cái đi thẳng theo trong xe này thì đối xử hợp nó có bên là đó đây là chỉ ở bên từ cái sự là mình mình nên phải sao để meet and greet các quốc gia
Good morning. I just want to thank everyone for coming. And I know this is a busy weekend with Mother's Day weekend and graduation happening and finishing up the year for our students. So I really appreciate you guys coming in here and making a commitment to the future leaders. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Kimberly Viescas. I'm the president of the Fresno chapter APAPA here. And our mission of APAPA is to empower the Asian and Pacific Islander community through education, leadership, and active participation in civic and public affairs. So we appreciate your support. Before we get started, we want to acknowledge some elected officials we have here. First, Dr. Tony Vang. He is a trailblazer in our community and is the first elected Hmong official in California. I would also like to acknowledge Miguel Arias, who's our Fresno City Council member. He is on the phone outside. Board Trustee for Fresno Unified, Valerie Davis. Board Trustee for Fresno Unified, Carol Mills. Board Trustee for Sanger Unified, Brandon Vang. And our City Council member for the City of Clovis, Vong Munatua. So we want to thank you all for coming in here and supporting our youth and our organization. We'd like to recognize another APAPA chapter from Sacramento, Jackie Nguyen, who is the president of the Sacramento chapter.
Thank you so much, Director Kim. Congratulations. It is such an honor and a pleasure for me to be here this morning. My name is Jackie Nguyen. I am the president for the Greater Sacramento chapter of APAPA. And I'm here with Glenn Fuji, who is our National Executive Director, as well as with Sean Yang, who is the Regional Vice Chair. And we are so pleased to be here this morning to share the soft opening of the Fresno chapter. This has been something that's been going on in terms of discussion for a long time with APAPA, and to see so many wonderful faces and individuals here today, this morning, just tells us that there has been a need for an APAPA chapter. So congratulations to y'all. I also have the pleasure of wearing a second hat. I'm the press secretary as well as the director of the Asian Pacific American Outreach on behalf of Senate Minority Leader Shannon Grove. Unfortunately, Leader Grove was not able to be here this morning, so she sent me down here also to give you this certificate of recognition from the California State Senate, presented to the Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs Fresno chapter to the leaders for the soft opening of the APAPA chapter in Fresno, which will empower Asian Pacific Islander Americans through education, leadership, and active participation in civic engagement. Congratulations on your day. Signed, Senate Minority Leader Shannon Grove.
I would like to introduce our city council members. Again, leadership in practice in many different spaces. Our city government is the space where leadership helps ensure there's jobs, safety, and personal well-being in our city. These local leaders make significant decisions like limiting the number of liquor stores per certain square footage of our city or numbers of homes we are building. We are proud to have the support of our local leaders, and here to say a few words, we would like to welcome Council Member Vong Muanatua.
They always say don't give a politician a microphone. But I think we'll be very brief. There is a saying, an Irish saying, that goes, there are good ships and there are wood ships, ships that sail the sea. But the best of these are friendships, may they always be. And I think with the beginning of the chapter here, we are truly just building friendships, meaningful relationships with an organization that has been well established, APAPA, within the state of California. And we in Fresno welcome the leadership here in your effort to establish with the probably now we can call it a national organization. And I think many of the youth here in Fresno, Clovis area look forward to the opportunity. Hmong have a saying, and it goes, "Pong yu to ke klang, yin yu to ke ti." Me ke kusan ta khana ye kho ku pe jaw na wo ji jiao lao na to ching ching lu la yin zi kha zhu bei shu la. Ha ta ye chu mo ke pong ke yu chi yan zhu jia yi kan le yu si de xin zhu na chu zhu jia mo nian zhu jia zheng jie zhu bei ge chen yu ho bi on neng ki yu lu neng se la mo ke klang. Okay, when I talk about Santa Fe, two more Lashika brothers, Lu Bang, Clapana, May, Lu Chagi, Clan, Tantra Pitch, and Mong, the Shia Mongzu, the Shi, Tantra, Southeast Asian, into Fresno, Clovis area. No? So, on behalf of us who are elected, on behalf of those who will soon be elected, we are excited about this adventure, and however we can help to Chong and to I don't know who's Sean, Hugh, okay, let us know however we can help to make it where it's solid. And to the leadership of APAPA, you have our support. You know, your reputation I think, precedes you, and it is something in which we look forward to having your organization here to help our youth build future leaders. And so I just thank you for being here. Thank you for coming down, and welcome to Fresno, Clovis area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next, I would like to introduce one that the leadership that had pushed to have the Fresno APAPA chapter. Without his guidance and leadership, we may not have this event today. Mr. Glenn Fuji is the National Executive Director for APAPA. He's worked and oversaw the company operations and the budget for 25 years for DS Waters. He's the COO for Sacramento and California Asian Commerce for over 10 years. He's responsible for operations and budget for a startup Japanese company for 2 years. He earned a BS degree from the California State University of Sacramento in business management and accounting. And he was born and raised in Sacramento. He is married with 2 sons. Welcome.
Thank you, Kim. First of all, I want to ditto Kim's welcome remarks to all of you, because I know it's Saturday morning and we actually have many other things that we can be doing. So thank you so much for coming to support our APAPA soft opening. I'm going to move these. Sorry about that. So today, the reason why we're introducing APAPA to you, the community out here, is I want to share with you. First of all, APAPA has been around for about 20 years. As it was stated earlier, it was founded by our chair, C.C. Yin. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with C.C. or know him. I know that he's been in the community before, and he is a big advocate of inspiring political and business leadership in the API community. That's his whole vision behind APAPA. He really wants to get representation in all of our communities. And so when we heard that the Fresno chapter, led by Mr. Chong Yang and Sean, both of them have really been instrumental in getting all of you together. And we're very excited out of Sacramento to support. That's where our headquarters are. And I just want to share with all of you that our mission, as stated by Kim, is in a real 30,000 foot level, is we really want to support the API community in any way we can. This is civic engagement. You talk about voter development. We talk about now appointments. We talk about civic issues. But at the end of the day, what really our signature will be is I look at a lot of the younger people out here in our audience today. We're really working towards your generation. Many of the fruits that we will see bared probably won't be in my lifetime. We know that, but that's okay. It takes us to create the groundwork and the infrastructure for all you young people, because many of the people already that have gone before you have taken away a lot of the barriers, a lot of the limits, a lot of the ceilings. It may not look so obvious to you, but many of the efforts and work that's been done before you have allowed you the opportunities today, even your family leaders. So from an APAPA perspective, that's our role. We want to support all communities in the Asian Pacific Islander cultures across the country. We are national now, as Vong stated. We are in 10 different states, ranging as far east as New York, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C., Florida, Ohio, Texas, Utah, state of Washington, state of California, state of Nevada. We have grown from, when I started, I've only been here for a couple years, but when I started, we had 17 chapters. 12 of which were in California. Now we are pushing 29 chapters as we speak today. At the end of the year, if CC has his vision met, we will have 35 chapters by the end of 2019. And by the end of 2020, we're looking at 40. And this is across the nation. So just to give you an example, we have a chapter growth in Texas. I think I met someone from Texas today. Who's from Texas? And I already recruited him. for our North Texas group in Dallas. That's our next expansion. So I just wanted to share that with you because we are truly national. We are truly trying to organize and unite as many communities as we can across the country. And it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. And I'll share with you a story that I shared with Jackie and Sean on our drive up here. And it's a story that really is close to the APAPA heart. So this is October of 2017. We have an Indian American community in Sacramento. They've been dealing with an issue for about, I think they told us 9 years. And it involved a textbook that had been in place for that length of time, but it depicted their community in a very inappropriate way, with pictures, information, etc. And the community was very unhappy because mainstream kids that were learning, students that were learning, were getting a very bad picture, an inappropriate picture of what the country was all about. So they came to us at APAPA. I want to say that there were 20 Indian American leaders on a Wednesday evening meeting in our conference room, plus Cece and I. They told their stories, they shared their pictures, they even shared pictures of the textbook of what the stories and what the information was providing the students. Cece and I were pretty much disgusted, to be honest. When we saw the pictures, we were just shaking our head. How can this happen? This is not right. So anyway, they've been trying to get a meeting and just an appointment, a conference call to talk to, at that time, Superintendent Torlakson. Unsuccessful, of course. So while we're in this meeting room, CC gets his cell phone out. I look at TJ because he's probably gotten a call like this before too. CC calls Superintendent Torlakson. Hey Tom, this is CC. It's 9:40, mind you, 9:40 p.m. And I was surprised Superintendent Torlakson picked up the phone. But he picked up the phone and CC had him on speakerphone and he let him know, hey, I got you on speakerphone and I got 20 Indian American leaders in my office. I need your help. What he then proceeded to tell Superintendent Torlakson, hey, we have an issue, a major issue that I hope you're aware of. I got 20 Indian American leaders here stating to me that they've been trying for 9+ years to make this change. I hope you're aware, but more importantly, I hope you're going to help this group. So long story short, Superintendent Torlakson agreed to meet with 20 members plus of the Indian American community. It was Wednesday night. He agreed to take a meeting for all of us in his office on Friday. I was actually shocked. So we all went and gathered in Superintendent Torlakson's office. He proceeded to talk to his board, proceeded to talk to other people. The hearing was a week from that day. And over, I think, 700 Indian Americans showed up at Department of Education, downtown Sacramento. They had to bring in security, everything, not because there was any trouble, just because there's so many people. Anyway, I want to tell you this story because, fortunately, the textbooks, I don't want to go into the company names, but they really control the industry. And the textbook stories, pictures, and everything were rejected, meaning that they had to reproduce the textbooks and correct the way the Indian American community was being viewed. It was a powerful statement, and I'll share with you why. And this is what really spurs the mission of APAPA. What Indian Americans in our community viewed firsthand is that they can't do this by themselves, that they need help. And the real message here, and the reason I shared that long story with you, and this is really what APAPA is about, is it takes a village. It takes a large group of people and communities to work together, not fight amongst each other, to realize what the big picture is. It's very difficult, but I share that story with you because if we didn't unite and do this together, never would have happened. Never would have happened. They would have continued probably 4 or 5 more years trying to do the same thing, banging their heads on the door. We're kind of a victim of our system, unfortunately, but unless we have a voice, we speak up, we make the effort, we take action, we can make change. And this is the message that I want to share with you, because this is what APAPA is all about. But in order to make change, as we know, and I look at Mr. Cox, Congressman Cox, he knows this too, lawmakers are the ones making the law. They're the one creating the rules, creating the laws. We are just following. My point, though, is I look at all the young people in the room. We all have to take the responsibility of stepping up to that next level. Even though it may be out of your comfort level a little bit, try to be that leader. I don't care if it's your high school club, your basketball team, your soccer team, anything that you're engaged with. Have the courage, take that next step to want to lead something, okay? Because culturally, I know all of you know this, including my culture of Japanese American. We're taught to study hard. You hear this all the time. All of you moms out there, I use my wife, she's pretty tough on the kids, right? About homework and, getting things done, getting good grades. That's what we're taught. Respect people, don't talk back, don't make yourself kind of a physical specimen and be embarrassed or embarrass our families. But some of these things that we're taught are all great things. They're very respectful. In fact, they're great employees. Those are the employees you want. However, one of the things that I want to share with you, these are also some of the barriers that we have in front of us to become leaders. We're more comfortable with getting rules, getting orders, getting plans placed in front of us, and we follow them. We're great at that. In fact, we're probably one of the best cultures at that. And this is why in many employment companies, government, Silicon Valley especially, that the employment is maybe 30 to 40% of API employees, but executive and leadership level is probably less than 1%. So do the math. But it's not all because of the system, it's because of our own barriers as well. So my whole point, APAPA's here to create leaders. APAPA's here to support your communities. APAPA's here to support other organizations. It's not about APAPA, so I just want to make that real clear. We're just here to support. We don't want the glory. In fact, I'll just use that CC story. He wanted his name never to be mentioned because that's CC. For those of you who know CC, he's extremely humble. He's a very successful McDonald's franchise owner, for those if you want to Google him. But he tells nobody about his success. He just always just offers to help people. In fact, his words to me all the time are, Glenn, just learn how to support and help people. You don't have to put your name anywhere. They'll know. Just represent actions to help support community. So one of our actions right now, and I know I'm probably going over and I'm sorry, that we really want to just try to get all the organizations of all cultures to work together. That's really another part of our mission outside of our leadership. And that's what we're doing across the country right now. So what you see in Fresno, I see in their established board, it's very diverse. I'm proud of Chong, because we've had a lot of conversations about this. Diversity is going to be powerful. We want to represent all of you, okay? And the only way you do that is if you have an action showing the community that they're involved and they're engaged. So I hope all of you will become members of Chong's Fresno chapter. The APAPA headquarters and the national team are extremely excited about being part of this community, and we will do whatever we can to support, and that's what we're here to do. So thank you so much for coming today.
And we are going to, I know Fresno Councilman Miguel Arias was outside, so I would like to acknowledge his presence and support here, and then have him come up here and say a few words.
Good afternoon. Let's try that again. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, what about a mom? Nanzong. All right. So today, I'm glad to be here. I want to leave you just with one very short message. It is a little bit of a message for the young people in the room and for the older people in the room. Our communities have a couple of things in common. One is that we both cross major rivers to get to the United States. Some the Mekong, us, the Rio Grande. Secondly, that we all have big families. We stick with each other, we help each other. At the same time, one of our biggest challenges is that we need to develop new leadership. In order to develop and embrace and support new leadership, old leadership has to make way. And so my message to you is, I'm glad that in a room full of people, I see a lot more younger folks. And the elders have come to the conclusion that we came to the same conclusion years ago, that our elders set a path for us, made space, set the first precedence of leadership. Is now time for us to step aside and to let the younger people lead us. We're not leaving you the best country in the best condition. We're leaving you a great treasure with great opportunities. There's things like mass school shootings, the things like wage gaps, wealth gaps, bigger spaces and distances between the haves and the have-nots. We're not leaving you a perfect world, a perfect country, or a perfect city. We're leaving you your task at hand. It's your turn to try and do your part and help us become a better city. So best of luck to young people. Do not be shy about pushing, shoving, scooting yourself into leadership roles. And to the elders, welcome that. It's time for some of us who've been around for a while to also make room for that leadership. And there's plenty of work for us to help still. To this day, people like Dr. Tony Vang are great assets to us. We have to lean on the wisdom and the knowledge and the experience that they brought to the table. But great folks and great leaders also know that when it's time for the next generation to step in, it's their job to make sure that they go from a position of authority to a position of influence. And so my message to you young folks is, embrace that. There's plenty of people that can give you a lot of influence, a lot of support, a lot of experience. It's your turn and your responsibility to step up and take it now. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
We also have a great honor of having our city council, a woman from Fresno, Esmeralda Soria. So we would like her to come up here.
Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing? So, I want to say that I am very actually excited to be here this afternoon with all of you. It is great to see, as my colleague, Councilmember Arias mentioned, really both the young and the elders in the room coming together with one goal, to try to figure out how we can all work together to make sure that not only do we move our country forward, but we continue to move our communities forward. So I'm super excited that you guys are all here. What we have seen in this last election cycle is that elections have consequences. But what we also need to learn is that if we're not at the table, we're gonna be on the menu. And so it is so important for all of us, the young and the elders, to make sure that we continue to be involved, not only politically, but in our communities. And I want to talk about a couple opportunities in particular. There's a number of various committees in our city, in our county, that we can all be a part of. If our voices are not reflected, the issues that we care about are not going to be addressed. There are a number of different city committees that are so critical, like the Planning Commission. We need to be there because the type of projects and developments that are happening throughout the city impact our neighborhoods. We also have a number of district committees. Be involved in those committees because you can make an impact as to what types of investments are going to be made in your neighborhood, what types of improvements can be made if you are there really echoing the issues that impact your community. I also want to speak to the young people in the room. Do not be afraid to raise your hand and to say, hey, I want to run. Because when our communities run, we win. Just look at Congressman Cox. He said, I'm gonna run, and guess what? He won. And there is a number of young women in our community, like Councilwoman Jewel Hurtado in Kingsburg, 19 years old, that said, hey, I'm gonna run because I wanna make a difference. And guess what? She won. So the message is, don't be afraid, raise your hand, because you have the ability to also lead your community. And in the meantime, if you're trying to figure out ways to prepare yourselves, there are a couple things that I want to just plug in here for the city of Fresno, for those that live in the city. We have a youth commission. This youth commission we created about 3 years ago, where kids or young people from the ages of 15 to 22 can be part of this commission, where you will can champion issues and make recommendations to the council. Out of that, we have created a summer youth employment program or internship program, because the young people through the Summer Youth Commission made that recommendation. So that's how your voice can be reflected in our community. So make sure that you not only get involved with APAPA, but be involved in your community and be proud of your culture and represent that, because the diversity of the cultures that exists here, not only in our city, but in our country, is what makes us a great country and a strong country. So what I say to you is that if you need my support, I'm here. I want to work with APAPA and with all of you to continue moving our city forward and making our country even a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, and we really appreciate your support. Next, I would like to introduce our Board of Trustees. It's really important. They have a pivotal role with our youth and the leadership and building it throughout. And so we have been given the great honor of having 3 board trustees here. I would like to introduce the board trustee member from Sanger Unified, Brandon Vang.
Thank you very much, Kim. And good afternoon. Before I start my speech, or what I have in mind is I want to wish all the mothers out there, including my 96-year-old mom, who is at home, and my wife, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So happy mothers. I would be remiss if I do not address the elders in the room, so please forgive me, I'm going to switch to Hmong. Cho nên thật sĩ, rồi xe lúc nào chỉ này, nên cảnh này lúc cho lúc nhau, tuột cổng, lúc cổng hồng ở đó. Như vậy, họ chủ tiên cái gỡ trò bê, trên hành mong nhờ hậu rõ Fresno County hồ nào. Lúc cổng hậu, ở bà bà nào, giờ lúc cổng hậu, tận đây nào, nhiều khi lúc hạt trong, để bên cho này thật ra, tao muốn đào lùa, chùa lúc đào lúc rõ, yon đào lùa, và liệuว่าจะเกิดใจใจเราyon đào lùa,เสียจะเกิดใจใจđể cho nóจะชุ่มnóที่เทียđể cho nên cho sĩตัวเขาลูกตัวเชี่ยวนาเทียมุ้ยจอนย่าเขาเชี่ยวนู่นนอในตัวชายหรือในตุ่มลงกุศลเทียนู่นนอยังนู่นจิตใจกับตัวเป็งนู่นนอยังลูกของเขาเอาป้าป้าขี้ลูกขัดจ้องไอ้ตันชอกับเป็ดจอในตัวด้าตัวนั่นแหละฉลาดไอ้ตัวใช้ลุงกาตัวใช้ตรงกาเลยลูกด่าลูกจ่อตัวใช้ตรงกาเป็นลูกด่าลูกจ่อAs an elected official and as a resident of the city of Fresno, I want to welcome the Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs to the city of Fresno and to the great county of Fresno. I welcome you open-heartedly. I welcome you because in the past, this community has been missing an organization that can represent us at this level and in this interest. And so if I can help this organization move forward to represent the Asian Pacific Islander community in the form of public servant or civic engagement, I would do that. It is incumbent upon me as an Asian Pacific Islander and as an elected official to do that for my community. Because when I was growing up, like these volunteers, who are in their late teens and early 20s, I crave for a role model in the political arena where I can see that if that person can be successful in this great country of ours, so can a refugee boy born in Laos can be that successful. And so I will do everything I can to help and move this organization forward. And this is for the younger generation, so if you do not understand Hmong, get an interpreter. One day, whole Fresno County, Dr. Tony Va, Lamato, Councilmember Blanc Xiong, Lamato, Vong Pekuale. Tetashi, Yapech Kilo Hatong, Daja Tone, and this side, the Chishong, Koshong Tadena. Basic Hmong, Nene Netsi, Nijapatya, Yamutokati. The burden, it's not waiting for you, the burden is upon you. The late teens and the early 20s. As previous speakers have reiterated, you are our generation. You are our future. You will represent us. When I am 65 years old and collecting my retirement, I'm gonna turn to you to be my voice at every level, every socioeconomic, political level. But we have to prepare that seed, perhaps even 10 years ago. And so, welcome, APAPA, welcome to the County of Fresno, welcome to the City of Fresno, and I hope this is the very first step that we can grow this chapter, and as Glenn Fuji said, by the end of this year, we will reach 40, or perhaps even more than 40 chapters in the United States of America. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
So I just want to thank Mr. Bang for bringing that up. And we have Dr. Tony Bang, who is present, who was our former Board of Trustee in Fresno Unified. And I would like him to come up here and say a few words to our audience.
Good afternoon. You know, I'm a retiree, so I wasn't prepared to come and say anything, just come listening, unless you need some advice. I was very pleased to see that Chong was talking to me about this APAPA a while ago, and I have no clue. And he has to explain to me what is APAPA stand for. I remember that 25 or 35, 37 years ago, we were very, very hungry to need something like this. So I see the lack of communication among the Asian Pacific Islanders, because we are new here, they are all here, so we don't have that kind of communication. So we don't know where to turn to, because many of us don't speak English. So they don't know, even they are here much longer, but they don't know our culture too. So now this is about good timing to start empower our new generation to represent us an issue that we're hungry and we're facing for a long, long, long time. In education, economics, in social issues, health, so many of them. So APAPA is in the right way, in the right place to represent us as a voice. And I think a person cannot work, but I have to take a team as our friend from Sacramento to take a village. So I just want to thank you and give me the opportunity to say a few words. And I'd be available to give you any advice and any younger generation want to run office. I'll be there as a volunteer and retiree and a supporter. And I also want to thank you, our Congressman Cost is here. I know you're very busy and being an elected official at that level. Your agenda, your calendar is full. And well, thank you for coming.
Next, I would like to introduce Fresno Board Trustee Carol Mills to come up to the podium.
Greetings and Najong. Thank you for having me here and for giving me a couple of minutes to speak. I am an elected member of the Fresno Unified School Board, and I've been on the board for a few years. When I was first elected, Dr. Tony Vang was on the board. And he reached out to me right after I got elected and asked me to meet him and go tour the School for New Americans, which existed at that time for all the children who were recent immigrants from Southeast Asia. And he wanted me to come at lunchtime to see what was happening at lunchtime. And what was happening is the food that we were serving wasn't familiar to the students. It wasn't to their liking. It was getting tossed in the trash cans. And so the message, of course, was, as a district, we needed to make changes because we have an obligation to be welcoming to the students, to be welcoming to the families. And something as simple as what we were serving for lunch was not sending that message. And we needed to make changes. So we did. And I have a little bit of an understanding in a different setting of what it's like to be in a facility, to be in a school where you're not in the majority. And in my situation, it was being female, because when I was in law school, this was at a time when most of the lawyers were men. There were over 300 in my class, and there were maybe 25 of us that were female. And that's a different feeling too. That's what they call a glass ceiling. But there's the equivalent of a glass ceiling for people sometimes who are immigrants, who are of a different culture until we learn their culture. And I'm getting an opportunity in another setting to learn about a different culture, the API culture, because my son is married now, and he married a young woman whose parents were born in Laos, who grew up in Laos, and the language in the home when she was growing up was not English. So I'm learning, and her family is learning about the different cultures that we have. I think it is wonderful that we now have an organization in Fresno that is establishing itself to give a political voice to the API community here, because there is a large API community, and you have a lot to offer this community, and we need to learn from you, not just, certainly not the other way around. We need to learn from you. We need to hear your voice, and we need to see you in political settings like Dr. Vang was. So welcome to Fresno, to APAPA, and welcome to the API community. Thank you.
Next, I would like to have Board Trustee for Fresno Unified, Valerie Davis.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, we made a lot of mistakes with our Southeast Asian kids, as Ms. Mills said. When they drank the cold milk, they were getting stomach aches and vomiting and running. So we've refined that. I was asked to give a few things, a few programs or things we've been doing in Fresno Unified. And last week, we had an Asian conference at Fresno Pacific College. So I've got all these stats available that were given to me. Fresno Unified has 74,000 children, and 10% of them, 7,546, are from the Asian community. Our largest group of Asians are among students. In the Bullard region, there's some 400 children. In the Edison region, some 600. Fresno High, 400. Hoover High School breaks about 1,000. McLean Roosevelt, almost 1,000 children. McLean, 1,600, and Sunnyside, the area I represent, has 1,900 students. Well, Dr. Tony Vang was on the board at Fresno Unified. He taught us a lot of things, and he also taught the superintendent. And one thing I truly always carry in my mind and in my heart is he told the superintendent, he told some of the board members, stories from the general. And one thing that you taught us, Dr. Tony Vang, that the mighty elephant, he searches to find clear water. That elephant, as large as it is, and I try to equate that with Fresno Unified. Fresno Unified is the fourth largest school district in the state of California. That's a big elephant. So to find the clear water for our children is a challenge. But I can tell you that while the graduation rate has improved in the 15 years I've been on, and Carol Mills has been on the board, from 63% to now 84%, our Asian American kids have a 98 percentile graduation rate. And I'm really proud that the last year we have sponsored a Among Academic Decathlon. It's very similar to the Academic Decathlon, and Fresno Unified did not participate last year. This was their first year they participated. And so was that Clovis Unified, Central Unified, and Sanger Unified had to take a back seat because the winners were from Sunnyside, Duncan, McLean, and Fresno High School this year. But that was 192 high school students participating in the Hmong Academic Decathlon. Some of the programs we have in Fresno Unified, we partner with the firm, Fresno Interdenominational Refugee Missions, Stone Soup, the Fresno Center, and I was interviewed last week by our California School Board Association magazine, our newsletter, and they asked, what was the success rate? Well, I told them the success rate of our partnerships has to do with where our partners are. Our partners are in our communities. They're behind a police substation where Firm is, Stone Soup, I believe. Firm is underneath a, freeway. And the center of Fresno is in the heart of an Asian community. They're in a strip mall, they're in our communities, and it's not a service downtown in a government office, but the partnership is truly in the community. Some of the things we have going on in Fresno Unified involve a dual immersion. We teach children English and Hmong at the same time. It's called a 50-50 program because in the morning they might study English, and in the afternoon it's strictly Hmong. We have elementary schools that are dedicated that way, and in our high schools we have, just like you have an elective, you can learn Hmong curriculum, you can learn Hmong language. And for a PE class at McLean High School, instead of taking PE, you can take Hmong dancing. So we're trying to do more of an inclusive type of cultural. And for supports and investments, the Fresno Unified have invested in a Hmong manager, a teacher special assignment, and we have what we call a student showcase, where the children perform and do art, and they just, I hate to say braggadocious, but it's a great big braggadocious event, and our community comes out and enjoys it. How many students have participated in one of those type of things? Can you raise your hand? Because I met some girls from there you go, raise your hand, from the, Hmong Olympics, the Academic Decathlon, and the showcase as well. Well, I just want to leave you with my absolute pride in your club, in the new Asian Pacific Island American Public Affairs. Back when I went to high school in 1977, they hadn't even invented Filipinos. So I'm tremendously proud of you today. Thank you.
Say thank you to Paul Savon. He is or has donated this venue, donated the food. So without his support, we couldn't have had our first meet and greet. So I would like to have him come up here, tell him thank you very much for all he does for the APAPA community.
Thank you to everybody. And good afternoon. My name is Paul Siwong. I'm owner at the Taipei restaurant, Taipei Hall. So I'm glad to see the Hmong community jump like a rocket. Because I don't see in this 2 years I have this place. I don't see another community have the building like this. There's only the Hmong community all the time. So if you want to have the meeting during the day, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 is free. I donation to everybody. And with that, sometimes come for food, so we try the food that I made. You want me to make it? I make it myself, or my cook make it. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for the APAPA organization to take my place to have this happen. So thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce Sean Yang. This is APAPA Central Valley Regional Chair, who has been inspirational in making sure that Fresno has a chapter to empower our API community, and is a former resident of Fresno.
How we doing, guys? I also want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies here and to all the ones out there. And she alluded to that I'm a resident, or used to be a resident here in Fresno. That is correct. I've been a part of this community for, well, June the 3rd will be my 30th year. So it's been a while. So I know a couple things about this community. Fresno community, as some of you may know or may not know, we have about over 12% of different API ethnic groups, over 10. So if you think about, Fresno has about over 1 million people, 12%, it's not too bad, but it takes over 10 different ethnic groups to assemble that number, which is not that big. So you see how important it is that we must not just mobilize, but we must be together. We must mobilize together. So with that said, all of us here, and particularly the API individuals, we all came from probably a different country, or maybe the same country. Whatever it may be, it might be a bit different, but I believe we have a common goal when we are here, to be here, and that is to chase the American dream. And that American dream journey could be a bit fuzzy or dark at times, and particularly if you don't know where you're going. So to me, I think it's very important that we have some sort of map, a guide, right? So it will be easier for us to get there quicker. As a matter of fact, we know that we could get there because we have the roadmap. So that's why I think it's important for us to have APAPA. APAPA is an organization, to me, the way I view it, and I talked to Glenn and CC, it should not just be about politics. It should be across the board, such as medical, technology, agricultural, any other field. But what is important here is to develop our youth to have the proper skill set to be our next leader. Once they have that, they can always organically shift later in their career. So I believe APAPA is one of the roadmap for Central Valley. That's why I'm so passionate to work with Glenn, our founder, CC Yen, and Chong, to establish this chapter for our youth, because our youth is our future. And I'm so thankful for all of you to show your support today in our effort of helping out our youth. Let me share with you about our chapter in Fresno. You know, I just spoke to Chong this morning, and he asked me not to talk so much about their individual achievement and their professional work. And I say, okay, I will not do it, which I would not go into detail, but let me tell you, last month, we had a Davis chapter grand opening, and I did not know this, but the MC announced toward the end that to make the officials to be possible, only make 95% of doctors. He's one of the guys that wasn't a doctor. So 95% of that chapters are doctors in Davis. I was like, wow, I'm not one of them. So with that said, this chapter, we got very quality people, managers, doctors, engineers, you name it. I say that not to praise them, but just want to let you guys know that, you know, our kids look up to people who have credibility, who done it, who's been there, so that they could trust them, say, hey, you know what, I could look up to this individual for advice and direction because they've been there. So I just want to share that we got a good group of team here in Fresno, and I'm asking all of you guys to support them. I'm supporting them because we are supporting them so that they can support our youth, so that our youth can become our future leaders.
I would like to now introduce Chong Meng. He is someone who is passionate about our community and our API community. He volunteers and works effortlessly to establish a leadership pipeline that will develop leaders that can represent our community proudly. Our Fresno APAPA chapter chair, Chong Yang.
Thank you, Kim. I just want to thank everybody for choosing your time on Mother's Day weekend to be here with us and understanding the importance of us building leadership within our API community here in Fresno. I want you guys to know that this chapter is so new, so young. We're just going right into our third month starting this chapter. And the vision that we have is what our past leaders are sharing, like Dr. Tony, like what Vong is saying, is that we want to involve our youth, get them involved, build a leadership pipeline that we can sustain and be involved in our city, in our organizations, so that we can be proud and make decisions that will impact us in a very positive way. I heard Trustee Mills and Trustee Davis talk about some of the challenges that Dr. Tony helped Fresno Unified resolve. And I think that some of these challenges can only be solved by the people that are closest to it, that understands it, that are passionate about it. And we are passionate about our community, and we are glad that you're all here supporting us in developing leadership for our community so that we will thrive and be involved. And I know that our API community is one of the community that is hardest to reach, and it's very difficult to get them involved. And I think a lot of times, kind of like what Glenn said earlier, we are taught to be very respectful at a very young age, that if our parents, our elders talk to us or tell us to do something, even if it's wrong, we listen because it's respectful. It's not because it's right. But now I know that it's different. Our generation we need to build on our past leader, what they have done, and understand that our voice matters, that we need to be at the table. Councilwoman Soria said it really well. If we're not there, we're on the menu. And I don't want us to be on the menu. And I believe that that's why we wanted APAPA Fresno chapter to exist. And this is the right time for us to develop the leadership here with the youth, with the young professionals. We will be able to be successful and develop this pipeline that we want to have representatives that will represent us locally, county, state, and nationally, right out of Fresno. Just imagine that. And I think that we have that opportunity. And it starts with us being parents. Have our children come to events like this, volunteer, go to different organization function. I am so happy to see we have little children here, maybe 10, 11. We have high school students. This is the only way that we're going to make change, is to start having them be involved and understand that this is important. And I will tell you that I am so passionate about what we're doing, and I am so proud of everybody being here and willing to put their hand in this. And when I heard that Congressman TJ Cox is willing to help us kick off our first meet and greet here in Fresno, we're getting the man. I'm saying that. To come here. I don't know if he knew that this was our third month. He probably said no, but you know what? I believe differently. I believe that he agrees and he understands the importance that we need to build leadership here in Fresno, because it's important. It's the Central Valley. It's the heart. And we got to remember that. And all of our API children, I want you to listen. You are part of that foundation that we're building right now, today, this very minute. And so I want to thank all of you for being here and making that choice. It's about us, okay? And so I know that this event has been going a little longer than our schedule, and I know that TJ wants to come up here. So I'm going to introduce my officers that has worked super hard to get this event the way it is today. And I'm going to invite you to come up here when I call you, my officers. Dr. Maddie Gajar, please give him a hand. This is my vice chair, a really well known. I know that Sean said, he doesn't want to boast about us, but Maddie is an amazing, amazing man. One of the eye surgeons here at Eye Institute, and a great leader and a great friend. Next, Kimberly Velasquez, who is an amazing woman. Talking about the voice in our community, we need a lot of voices like Kim to represent us. She is a principal and a extremely active woman in our community. Next, I'm going to have Lao Yang, who is a strong woman in our community as well. In her other hat, she is HR with a solar energy company. Next, I would like Yer Chong to come up here. Yer is the director of early childhood over at Stone Soup, and talking about dual immersion program. Many researchers have said it's so important in the brain development, and it's very similar, makes impact very similar to children that are learning music. And so it increases success in academic attainment. Our next person I would like to come up here is our social media person, C. Vane. Talking about the young guns, the folks that can be our leaders in the future. These are it. Another important person that we would not be able to do this without is Hugh Yang, our community outreach. And then, am I missing an officer? I don't want to do that. All right. And then I just also want to recognize our planning committee. We will not be able to have this event without our planning committee. Please put your hands up. Ken, Brandon, Bobby, Laura, Jen. So if you see them, please tell them thank you. And so now I'm gonna have TJ Cox, who is an inspiration to all of us here in Fresno. And I'm gonna have Bobby come and introduce you really quickly. Right, Bobby? Come on up here.
This is a great event, guys. I'm so proud of being a part of this, for Papa to come here. Thank you, Glenn, for doing this. You know, they felt like picking me out today, TJ, because, oops, sorry guys, if you don't know, I ran for Congress last year. Same time that TJ did, and some of the campaign stuff we did together. I lost, he won. But TJ, you are an inspiration to all of us, and to all those students and all the volunteers back there. You pay attention. You know, in some of our areas out here, some people may say you can't arise to that level in Congress. TJ is one of our community members. TJ Cox, Congressman TJ Cox, is half Filipino, half Chinese. His father was Chinese, if I'm correct. Mother was Filipino. Both immigrated from those countries. That is what you can accomplish. He has done a lot, and if you pay attention to him and look at what he has done, he got elected, and he's not the normal politician where they go around and just say things. He has been working. He has been taking pictures. He has been meeting different community members. He's been wearing different cultural dresses. He's been doing all kinds of stuff, talking to the entire community and doing his work. If you see what he does, that's what you have to do to be able to get there. And TJ Cox is today on the Committee of Natural Resources, on the Committee of Agriculture, which is very important to us here in the Central Valley. And he's also a member of the Asia Pacific American Caucus. Okay, so what we are doing with APAPA and bringing it here, TJ, you are a full example of what we wish all of our community can do. So everyone, please join me. Give him a big round of applause for TJ Cox, Congressman Cox.
Well, thank you so much, Bobby. And you know what? I won my second time, right? You know, and so don't give up. You know, it's that consistency of effort that always pays off. And I gotta tell you, it's just so nice to be here today, because this is a God's honest truth, is that this looks just like one of my family get-togethers, right? You know? I mean, you guys know how it is. You know, we got, you know, I mean, we a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of Caucasian, you know, we married into, but you know, but all the Lolas and the Lolos and the Titas and the Titos and all my Filipino brethren, magandang hapon, right? That's good, right? Yeah, that's good afternoon. But you know, I can tell you, when I heard about this event, we actually had a long week in DC this week, and we finished up voting yesterday. We finished up voting for the disaster relief package for not only for Puerto Rico, but for across the entire United States. So votes went long yesterday. And so we actually got on a plane, and I got home about midnight. But then I got home, and my son was just back from college, and he was watching The Karate Kid, right? And so we had to sit down and watch that because you know, I think a lot of times you can learn all you need to know about life from The Karate Kid, because it's all about balance and it's respect and you know, in that conflict resolution. And you know, people always ask is, you know, TJ, why'd you run for Congress? You know, why are you there? And what are you trying to do? And the other day, there was a group of kids from Arvin, Lamont, East Bakersfield, that were coming out to the Capitol, and they were all kind of high schoolers, 17, 18, maybe some 15-year-olds. And it's pretty easy to pick out the group of kids that come from the 21st Congressional District. And right now in DC, there's a lot of groups that are coming out, but I come out of the Capitol after a vote, and it's pretty easy to pick them out while they're sitting down. And a little, a very young woman that looks like some of the young ladies here asked that same type of question. And I wanted to distill my answer down to really what struck me about running and making a difference from a very early age. And it's kind of unfortunate, but it still hurts my feelings today. But when I moved from California, I was born in California, but I moved to Nevada when I was about 8 years old. And I was riding the bus to school after about on the first week or so. And getting off the bus, a kid walks up back of me and he slaps me on the back of the head. He calls me a freaking chink. All right? And it's that type of feeling that makes you feel not part of the community. You know, made me ashamed of who I was. That I was a little different. My parents might have spoken a different language. We looked a little different. And that distills it down to what I see happening to certainly some of our immigrant communities here today. You know, where's the appreciation of the color and the contributions that the immigrant communities make to, you know, to our society, right? And we know what we do. We come, we study, we work hard, we contribute, and the recognition of that. And certainly, you know, things have really been coming about. This is a part of a Congress that we have the most Asian Pacific Islander members ever. We have the most diverse Congress ever. So we're still making that progress, but we're not there yet. And in fact, with this administration, we look like we're moving backwards. And that's what I'm there to do every day, to stand up for the people that have not only been marginalized historically, but don't have the opportunities that some of them else have. But when they do have that opportunities, make sure that there is no glass ceiling, that we can be able to succeed and contribute. And really to distill the ideas that our communities, and certainly our communities of colors, you know, they bring different experiences to be able to contribute, to be able to shape policies that at the end of the day really benefit us more so than anything else. And really to be able to make that American dream work for everyone. And you know, so that simple instance that struck me back, like I said, almost 45 years ago, always made me feel like, hey, that people need to be stood up for and championed. And you know, I got that from that instance, but I tell you what, I really got that from my parents as well. My mom was one of the first equal opportunity officers for the state of Nevada, you know, back, 40 years ago. And she was a bit of a social justice warrior, but she got that drive actually from her mom, my grandmother. And one of the stories that we've always heard around my family ever since I was really young, my mom still tells it today, is that back in the Philippines, in Manila, right after World War II, my grandmother noticed that there was a certain segment of our U.S. troops that were being discriminated against. They didn't have any place to go when they got off duty, no place to hang out, you know, have a drink and relax. And so my grandmother took it upon herself to open the first and only social club for African American troops in Manila right after the war. You know, she saw social injustice and said, hey, she's just not going to talk about it. She's going to go out and do something about it. And that's what I see so many of our API members doing. We're just not talking about it, they're doing something about it. Just like CC. And when CC and Sean and John are saying, hey, we're going to open up a APAPA chapter here in Fresno, that's something I really wanted to be a part of, to be able to champion and lend my support to, because it's so important. And it's not so much just about, you know, getting people elected, because I can tell you what, Glenn was saying, you know, that we're leaders, and the fact is that electeds really aren't leaders. We're followers, and we take what we know is public policy and the sentiment of our communities, and we distill those down to our policies to get those passed. But it's not a lot of original ideas, you know, a lot of the times. And I can tell you is that for my office, a couple pieces of legislation that we've introduced, those aren't things that I just pulled out of the air. So these were my great ideas. I got pieces of legislation because I hear from people in the community that say, hey, we should be working on that. And I go, yeah, you're right. But those organic thoughts come from everyone out here and in our communities. And we put those into law. And so that's what our purpose is. Our purpose is to serve and represent you in Congress. And that's certainly what something APAPA is about. APAPA is not Republican or Democratic organization. It's an organization that's dedicated towards distilling the needs and the ideas and the concerns of our Asian Pacific Islander community into policies and getting those into place and having us represented in the local and state and federal government. And that's what they've been very, very effective in doing. It's one of the organizations that I'm so happy to be able to support there in Congress. But I can tell you, it's Congress, it's a lot of fun. I can tell you, it's so nice that you guys know that there's 100 new members of Congress, right? There's 4 new members on the Democratic Party side. And I guess I just want you guys to watch C-SPAN someday. You know, some of you may have seen, in fact, I had the opportunity to do it this week, to preside over the Senate, or to preside over the House. I'll preside over the Senate in a couple of years, right? Okay? But it's, so you have the Democrats sitting on the right, and the Republicans sitting on the left, okay? And I can tell you is that the Democratic side looks basically like this room here. You've got people of color, you've got, you know, over 100 plus women, about 25-30% of the caucus, African Americans, Asian Americans. We have the first 2 Native Americans ever, the 2 first Muslim American members of, or actually first 2 women Muslim American members of Congress. And then you look at the other side of the aisle and it looks like some old, you know, GOP white guy country club. I mean, it's just so stark. You know, white hair and then dark hair and women. And it's not to say anything that I can tell you, I get along very, very well with the other side, but it's just not so reflective of what we know here, at least in California. Might be in Kansas or whatever, but it's what we see here in California. And I can tell you is that the variety of the debate that goes on in our caucuses, it really reflects all of those types of differences. And it's a much more healthy, robust debate. So very happy to be part of that new historic class. And also, you may know it's the class that we have the most number of AAPI members ever. There was myself and Andy Kim from New Jersey that was elected. And both he and I are subcommittee chairman out of the very few freshmen that are subcommittee chairman in our first terms. So very happy to be able to represent our committee in such a positive manner. The one thing I do say is, as an elected, and every elected knows this, and we're very serious about this, is that we work for you. I don't know if Miguel and Esmeralda are still here, but I can tell you that those 2 are some of my very, very best friends, not only in the political world, but personal friends as well, because we are all absolutely 100% dedicated to working for the people that we serve and elected us. And so thank you all for being here today. You know, for all the young men and women here, I can tell we are always looking for interns. If you're interested in an internship this summer, see the big guy in the white shirt back there? That's Gilbert Felix. He's my district director. We have our office. We have a very large office in Selma, just down the street. And we will put you to work doing some meaningful things, you know? And we're always looking for that outreach. It's, once again, it's such a privilege and an honor to represent the people of the 21st Congressional District, the Central Valley. And I would be amiss if I did not introduce my North Star, my wife, mother of our kids, on Mother's Day, Dr. Kathy Murphy, who has got such one of the more important jobs, is that she's a pediatric ICU physician up at Valley Children's, and maybe is taking care of a lot, you know, some of the children here in the room, or the offspring here in the room, but she really makes a difference, saving lives every day. And part of a major reason why I'm in Congress, I can tell you, is that Kathy a number of years ago said, hey, listen, I can do only so much at the bedside as a physician, because the politicians aren't doing the politics and the policies they need to keep kids out of the ICU in the first place. We need to have people that are going to get some things done. And you, Mr. Cox, are going to go get some things done. So thank you again. And Just one last point, and I want to make sure that every young kid and every voter out there knows about this, is that I ended up winning by 862 votes. All right? I mean, that means that every door you knock on, every phone call you make, every a postcard that you write really, really makes a difference. And I can tell you is that, you know, with the name Cox, people thought, well, it must be some other white guy. And it wasn't until I went down to Delano, right, which has got a very high Filipino population, like, hey, Filipino, right? Yeah, you Pinoy, yeah, right? And so then the turnout was just juiced, right? And it's that additional turnout that you guys know makes the difference, all right? And so the efforts that we all do really, really make a difference. We didn't win until a month after the election. Everyone called it for the other guy. But we kept on working and working and working. And when we keep on working and working and working, we're going to achieve the dreams and the goals that we all know that this beautiful country offers to each and every one of us. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Congressman Cox, we just want to give you this token of our gratitude for coming to this event and making the event a success. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Please look at my Instagram page next week because that is going on the wall in my DC office, okay?